Okay, and with that, we've come to our last segment for today. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to our distinguished guest, Anders Sjöberg, Ambassador of Sweden to Singapore. Now, the ambassador's role represents Sweden's interests between Sweden and Singapore. The ambassador previously oversaw the Strategic Affairs Program at the Department of Trade Promotion, Nation Branding and CSR, Swedish Ministry for Foreign Affairs. Mr. Ambassador, could I please invite you on stage to deliver the closing remarks for today?
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for inviting me to this session. It was truly inspiring to listen to this amazing panel, and of course I recognize a lot of the things that you were touching on, but I also learned many new things. I'm the Swedish ambassador here since exactly 1 year ago. I arrived here on the 28th of October 2023. And one of the really inspiring things about being in Singapore is to learn and see and experience firsthand all the amazing things that Singapore has done with its city in terms of planning and in terms of including all its citizens in its development. When we arrived here, me and my wife, I said, let's buy a car. You know, it's going to be fun to have a car. We can drive around. We can go out to all these nature reserves. And she said, no, why do we need a car? And then we walked up to the nearest MRT. And then I realized we don't need a car. You have 400 bus lines in the city. You have 240 kilometers of rail. You know, we couldn't see any reason after a few days that we should have a car. The other sort of first-hand experience I got was a visit to URA, and I learned about the amazing city plans, master plans, you know, for the next coming 10, 15 years. Apparently 50-year plan where you look into so many different dimensions of including climate adaptation, coastal planning and whatnot. So it's really, I say, Singapore must be a planner's dream to have all these assets in a relatively small space. I come from a country which is slightly larger. It's about the size of California, or if you go more closer to this region, it's about the size of Sumatra. We have 290 municipalities, and most of them contain some sort of city or township. So it's slightly more spread out than Singapore. I myself, I come from Stockholm, so I thought I should give you a few examples to compare and contrast a little bit between Singapore and Stockholm. When I listened to this eminent panel, I jotted down a few words which I think unite us all when we try to think about city and the futures. And of course, we need to plan. I've already said that, and we need policies, and we need to have firm policies that give some side of guidance and directions. And I will share a little bit about the policies that we have developed in a moment. Equally important, I would say, is not only the awareness among the general public, but the strong buy-in and the trust between policymakers, government officials like myself, and the general public when you do these things. Of course, you need dollars, you need euros, you need kronor, you need money to finance all this, and you need to be innovative. You need to try new things, and perhaps you need some new technologies and so forth that you would like to implement. And of course, we try, like Singapore, we try to be creative. We are as restless as you are. We try to be innovative in our city planning. But many of these things goes quite slow because we're talking about structures that are quite fixed. I live quite close to Thomson Road, and apparently there's a north-south line going down there, which I think will be magnificent when that is in place. When I ask people, do you think this will be ready before I end my posting? Well, it'll probably take 3, 4, 5 more years before. I don't know exact the finishing date, but still, it's all these interventions in a living city in a sort of fixed environment. It takes takes time. So in our case, and I talk about Stockholm now, we have a big freshwater lake that is our main supply for our freshwater. City center, part of the city center had been an industrial area for almost 100 years. And this lake was simply in a mess. There was no fish left, you couldn't swim there. But then we made a huge effort during 20, 30 years to clean up the lake and take out all this industrial waste, all the heavy metals and so forth. And today you can swim in that lake in the city center. You can fish. They put out tens of thousands of small salmons in that lake every year. So you can demonstrate to general public and the industry and so forth that it is possible to also to clean up when you have created a mess. Few key initiatives that we have taken. Public transportation. I simply love the public transportation, as I said, here in Singapore. We are 100% renewable since 2017. We are blessed with a lot of renewables. We have hydropower, we have a lot of wind, we even have nuclear and a lot of different sources. So renewables we have in abundance, but we are not only using it for our electrical vehicles, but we're also using ethanol. We're using biogas a lot for our public buses. And we use it we create this biogas from wastewater and also from food waste that we are now, it's compulsory for us to recycle all the food waste that we put, and we need to put it back into the system. So you can't throw it in the bin and just hope for the best. No, you have to get it back into the system. So this implies that from this biogas plant, it's actually a pipeline running straight into the bus garage so they can fuel it directly. And that gives also a very interesting view on how you recycle and how you contribute with your waste, your food waste and so forth, right back into our transportation system. So that's just something that people might think of when they take the bus in the morning, that they have contributed to the fuel of it. I talked about innovations. Earlier this week, the very first electric ferry was introduced in and I talked about this lake, so you can commute across the lakes. So a ferry that is foiling, you remember the Olympic bronze medalist Max Mäder, right? He's foiling. This ferry is also foiling to reduce the resistance in the water. So they can cut commuter time, and they're allowed to drive fast because it doesn't create any swell. So they have reduced the commuter time by maybe half an hour to 45 minutes with this innovation. And look it up on the web. I think you will find it quite fascinating. It's called Candela, the company. Like Singapore, we had road tolls, similar systems to reduce traffic congestion in the city center. Public transport is quite congested, so people like me, we have given up. We take out our bike. It's not only me, it's 80,000 other commuters every day that take the bike to their office or workplace or the university. So that's another thing that you can do as a common citizen. And on renewable energy, we are also doing quite a lot. We have I said we're already fossil fuel in our public transportation. And by 2040, we aim to be a fossil fuel-free city. And to help us with this, we have now developed, of course, we don't need cooling, we need heating, right? So in our biggest district heating plant, they are now developing a carbon capture storage that will be able to store around 800,000 tons annually from our combined production of heating. So we can actually be carbon positive if that is the term for this. Sustainable buildings is another thing that I'm sure you have discussed about passive buildings or active buildings. I met one of the big companies here. I understand that this is something that is going on in Singapore as well. Another way of being innovative and and reduce energy in our systems. Material recycling is something that we have been dealing with since the early 70s, and we have only a fraction now, around 3% that go for landfill. Around 30% of our waste are being recycled because we separate into fractions. I mentioned the food waste, but we also do metal, plastic, and all these things. And this is done both on commercial level and on household level. And on policy level, the producers, according to EU regulations, they have a responsibility to take back, packaging and whatnot. So we're trying to get it into the circulation. But perhaps most important is to have a system where you can prevent waste, right? And where you can reuse and repair if things breaks down, rather than bringing in new material into the system. Perhaps a final point. I simply love the green spaces here in Singapore. I understand that if you build something on something that is green, then you need to replace it with something that is green. So it's sort of a zero-sum game. I think this is so important, and it's not only for the well-being of the air we breathe and so forth, but I think it's also very good for your mental health. When you look out at all this greenery, I mean, you feel relaxed, you feel calm. So the greenery brings a lot of intangible benefits as well to our cities. So I understand that I'm standing between you guys and a drink, so I'm going to wrap up here. But I really would like to thank you for listening to me. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to approach me after this event. So thank you very much again for inviting.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador Anders. Thank you. Okay, and this brings us to the end of today's event. Thank you for such a fruitful day of conversations. And I'd like to say a big thank you to all our speakers, panelists, moderators, guests. This event would not have been possible without you. And of course, thank you all of you for joining us here today, both in person as well as virtually, for this year's edition of Cities Possibilities, a CapitaLand Sustainability Edition. Now, if you enjoyed today's event and would like to support independent journalism on sustainable development in Asia, do sign up for our EB Circle subscription for unlimited access to all our content and be a part of our community. You can also consider EB Premium if you also like the ability to publish press releases, job listings, events, and research papers on our platform. Just for this event, we have an exclusive discount code for you, 25% off both these subscriptions. So use the code CITIESSG25 today to get a discount. You can scan here for more details. I'll just give you all a moment to take a quick picture or scan the QR code. Okay. We also have a new corporate subscription package called EB Enterprise, where you can gift your employees unlimited access to our premium content, get publishing credits to publish on our platform, and get priority tickets to our events and access to exclusive subscriber-only content. This package can also be further customized, so do get in touch with our partnerships team if you'd like to discuss this further. Before we wrap up, we'd also like to hear what you thought of today's event. So do help us to scan the QR code that will appear on the screen now, where you will find our feedback form and give us your thoughts on this forum. And don't forget to return your lanyards after that, because we do reuse them for our events. And with that, do join us for networking sessions, our cocktails outside the auditorium. Have a lovely week ahead. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.